5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Edge Radio.
Good evening, everyone. This is Wayne Brown for the Talkie Show. I don't know if I've told you that's what the name was.
Okay.
Everyone had this weird reaction because like Leanne last fortnight when I said it, she'd lost it. She thought it was hilarious. So, I suppose I should probably explain for my guests as well as everyone listening. The reason I chose that, because originally I was going to do a really professional name and everything, and then I went, you know what, silly name, serious content. So it's that balance of I want to have fun with it, but we want to discuss the serious stuff. So anyway, tonight I have two wonderful guests who I've spoken to a number of times, Luke and Kim Herman. If you'd like to introduce yourselves and tell everyone a little bit about yourselves, whatever you want to tell.
Ladies first.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having us here, Wayne.
Absolutely welcome.
And thank you to the listeners. My name's Kim Herman. I'm a holistic transformation therapist and coach. And I mainly do work with women, although I do work with couples as well, alongside Luke.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am a emotional sovereignty specialist and really just passionate about helping women who, you know, on the outside look like they've got their life together. They're high functioning, they're successful, but on the inside they struggle with, you know, people pleasing, that self-doubt, not being able to trust themselves. They may struggle with anxiety and, you know, just helping them to lay down the stuff that's creating that so they can live a life that's more their true self.
Nice. And I suppose that stuff's pretty rampant in society. And the hard thing, I would guess, for a lot of people would just be admitting that they need some help. Because I know I certainly did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, gosh, I think that's part of the healing journey, isn't it? We start off not really wanting to realise that we need help or that we're struggling, and that especially when we see it rampant in society, we think, well, that's normal.
Yeah.
And this is just how I've got to be.
Yeah. And before we go down this rabbit hole, because we better introduce Luke.
Yes. I'm sitting over here. I feel like I'm way on the other side of the couch over here. I've been drawn into men's mental health through grief. Lost my dad when I was 18, then lost my brother, my mum. Didn't know how to deal with it. Didn't know how to deal with the emotions. And luckily for me, I had a wife that sort of nudged me enough into looking into exploring what I needed to do so I could get myself out of the hole that I was stuck in, basically. And now, you know, I enjoy working with men and, you know, and also young men as well, which is really good to see some young men stepping into that space. So basically that's, you know, been the big part of me is grief. So, but it's been great in the fact that it's helped, you know, not just myself, but my relationship with my great wife and my kids. And, you know, and I always say, you know, what is a good legacy, you know, what you take out of life. And for both of us, it's always been showing our kids what a healthy relationship is.
Nice.
So it just needs to be something simple. It doesn't have to be this big, you know, I'm going to leave, you know, these, you know, all this property portfolio or whatever. But, you know, I think a really important thing that they can carry on through life, no matter thick or thin, whatever they go with.
Nice. So. And it's funny, even as both of you were introducing yourselves, I'm thinking, oh, we could explore emotions. There's another show. Or grief, that's a huge one. Yeah. We can do another show on that. So I think already I'm thinking I need to get each of you back again. But when I ask people to be guests on the show, I send them a list of questions, and Kim and Luke did a bit of a consult with each other, and they've picked out, what was it, the female aspect and the male aspect coexist?
Feminine and masculine energies, coexist in a relationship.
Yeah, so we've already had a bit of a chat about this just to see where we can go, and there's heaps of places. So should we sort of pick up with one of the topics we were talking about before? So initially we were talking about relationships because a lot of people struggle to find that healthy masculine and feminine in a relationship. So with what you've both done personally and what you help people with, what would you say is the biggest challenge that people generally face, and what would be the, say, 3 steps that they would take to move into a healthy version of that?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
I'm going to talk from a female perspective.
Mhm.
I think because I think a lot of women out there may relate to this. I was a very independent young woman and, quite confident, had a career. And, I didn't know at the time that meant that I was very much in my masculine energy. I, would, organize things for myself. So when we started our relationship 29 years ago,
Congratulations.
that
Thank you.
that kind of
Nice.
continued in the sense that I was the organizer. I'd organize everything. I was in control. I was a bit of a control freak too. But it kind of worked for us at that point.
Yeah.
Because Luke, I'm not saying he's a feminine person, because this isn't what we're talking about. We're talking about feminine energy. So feminine energy is where we're able to be led and we receive, open to receiving. It's also very nurturing as well.
Yep.
And masculine energy is that doing energy, taking action. So, he would very much just step back into that feminine and let me lead and do the doing. So eventually that wasn't working for our relationship. And I wanted to be more in my feminine energy.
Right. So you sort of had a gut full of being in the masculine.
Yeah, it's exhausting for a woman to be in that all the time, because we're actually not meant to, as a female, be in that masculine energy. I mean, we shift out of masculine and feminine energy daily during our day, but it's exhausting for women. And I think there's a lot of women out there that are exhausted and don't understand why. And this is possibly a reason why, because they are, being the organizer, doing everything. And a lot of women do it because they like the independence and they like to feel in control. So that was a challenge. And I had to really unlearn that and learn to step back and allow Luke to lead. So I think the first step for me was, number one, making the decision that I wanted to be more in my feminine within our relationship. So I helped myself to do that by, I would wear flowy dresses. I would, do those feminine things that made me feel feminine as a woman. And then, as soon as Luke came home from work, I would kind of step back from and allow him to step up and lead me within the relationship. It wasn't easy though at first.
No, it never is, because it becomes part of your identity. And so you associate with it so much. To do that, you've got to become another person, or the real person, and leave that false one to one side.
And then there was a challenge in that for us and Luke, wasn't there? Because what was the challenge for you when I first stepped back in my feminine?
A lot of the times for me to remember when I needed to step up. And
well, at first you didn't know how to.
Exactly. Yeah, I suppose that first key was didn't know how to, didn't know what was expected. And I think a lot of people, a lot of guys get told by their partner, is like, you need to step up as a man and you need to show up in relationships like that. And for me at that point, I was like, well, what the heck am I meant to do? What does that entail? Yeah. Is it like, I'm already like, got my own business, working in that, taking the kids to sport, coaching them in sport, doing all the gardening, helping around the house, things like that. And for a lot of guys, they think that is being in their masculine, but it's not. It's completely not in your masculine. So for me, it took me, it took Kim to understand that she was like looking at me the wrong way, and then I had to learn what I needed to do so I could then step into that comfortably, and then I know what to do. And then we could both be, one or the other, because it's really important. We can't be both unless, there's a certain time when we're both very goal orientated, like we're both in the same task.
Yeah.
And we'll both be in our masculine, but a lot of the times we've got to be in either or either. And for me, it took me, a bit of time to work out, and then also remembering when Kim was tired that she wanted to step back into feminine, and then I needed to step up into that and take the role. A lot of times, like on a Friday night, for example, she'd be like, I'm exhausted, I can't make another decision. That's your masculine.
Mm.
That's her saying, look, you need to organise dinner, you need to do this and that. And that's like, a lot of guys go, oh, well, I can't be bothered either. And it turns into a competition about, who's the most tired. Well, it's not.
Yeah, not a good competition.
No,
Not a good
and
competition.
that's when I realised, okay, I need to organise dinner. I'll go order dinner, takeaway, and I'll just say, all right, what are we going to have? We're going to have Thai, or we're going to have Japanese, or we're going to have Chinese tonight. And I'll say it was one or the other. I'm not driving around like everyone's not going to have a different choice.
Yeah.
I'm not the buffet driver at Uber Eats tonight. It's that or that, and I'll go order it, and then I'll go pick it up. All right, and it's just the things like that for when then I know Kim will feel more comfortable that she can just okay, it's all taken care of. I don't have to worry about it. She can then, her nervous system will then relax more, because that's where she needs to be. And, and then, on the other side of all of, being that is for when we had young kids as well, when I needed to step up and, take the kids for a bit and, be the dad and things when mums are tired, because we're not our best when we're tired.
Mm.
So sometimes it's like, but someone needs to do, read a book or do some art or do some colouring in for their feminine energy, so then they can just come back to where they need to be. And then it's charging your batteries. Okay, I feel good now. I can go on.
So just to give people a little bit of context, you said you've been together for 29 years. Again, congratulations. That's a wonderful achievement. I know it wasn't until relatively recent that you both did all of this work. It wasn't early in your relationship, was it?
No, it would have been the earliest, I think. So I was the first one that stepped into do personal healing on myself before I, then trained as a practitioner. It's going back just over 10 years now.
10 years, yeah.
Okay, so basically you'd gone nearly 2 decades of that out of balance role playing.
Yep.
Before you just went, you know what, this isn't working.
Yep. And I think having children for us was a real catalyst that highlighted the areas of our relationship and areas within ourselves personally that we needed to work on.
Was that one of those we want to be the ones that break the cycle type moments?
I don't think it was a conscious decision of that,
right,
but it ended up being that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That's a pretty good reason for doing it.
It didn't start as that.
Yeah.
I think, my healing journey, the kids were a catalyst. I was just, I had a lot of unresolved trauma from my childhood that I hadn't really addressed, and I'd very successfully suppressed it until I had kids.
Yeah, they'll bring everything up.
Great mirror.
Little buggers.
And so, I did it for me because I wanted to be a different mother than I was being, which essentially I guess is helping break the cycle too, because look, I have amazing parents that love me, but the way they parented didn't really provide me with, I guess, the nurturing sort of love that I needed. And so, I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of resentment, I had a lot of I'm not good enough. And all this anger just, came to the surface. So, essentially I think it is about breaking the cycle, because I look at my parents and the way they are, and we really have, now see how much we've broken that cycle for our kids.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if someone was listening to you tell your story and you broke that down into, say, 3-4 steps, whatever, however many you want to use, what steps would you say it took? It was that making a decision? Was your
It
first step?
was making a decision. Are we talking about the feminine energy thing, or just
part of your journey.
I think was realizing and making that decision that we needed to do that. And I think the second step is really communication with your partner and seeing what that looks like for you in your relationship. Because what might work for us in the way we work with feminine and masculine energy may be slightly different for other couples.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess maybe that's the third step. The second step is probably learning about what it means to be in your feminine energy and what it means in a centered feminine and a centered masculine.
Okay, so when you were looking for some sort of model to base off the feminine, did you do coaching? You reading books? Were you just following your gut?
I ended up learning it as part of practitioner training.
Oh, okay.
So I had a mentor that was teaching it. But then I guess I did and I know Luke does this with his clients as well. I think, seeing characters in movies that represent that for you are really good to tap into.
Like a role model.
How do they act? How do they dress? How do they respond? How do they...
So you're talking from a personal, what resonates with you personally.
Yeah.
Especially like when I get home on a Friday and I'm really tired and Kim's like, really need you to help out, you're not going to go, what do I need to remember in this situation? So I'll go, so my role model was Thor, right?
Okay.
He's strong. He makes good decisions. He doesn't fly off the handle. Gets shit done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't mind a bit of PlayStation as well.
So, we won't talk about Fat Thor.
So we can tap into a role model, right? So like what would Thor, you just got to go, what would Thor do right now? Okay. And on the other side of my feminine is Mary Magdalene. Really good listener, caring, endearing, motherly, love, affection when you need to step into that. So I don't need to remember all these things. All I need to do is be able to tap into these beautiful characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to have human ones, and then I was like, why do I have to have a human one? Because all humans are flawed, right? So why don't we just like tap into, Thor, because he's like, he's cool in every aspect of that. And, Mary Magdalene, even though, we don't hear as much as when you start reading about her, you realize how much of a big personality and a beautiful person she was. So those things make things so much easier. So when you can explain it to your clients, like you don't need to remember all this stuff. All you need to do is have a really good role model and remember you can upgrade them.
Yeah, true.
So it's not like you're feeling like oh, what do I got to remember? What did my wife ask me to do? And it's like, what would this role model do?
Yeah.
And you can also get a bit more personal with your partner because obviously, different situations and you can carry yourself through the communication, like what Kim was saying before, what she needs in different situations as well.
Like I really needed Luke to step up and when it came to, because I mean, when you've been together for a long time, you have to actively work on the relationship.
Absolutely.
To keep that spark alive.
Absolutely.
To keep, and we'd been in a period of time where we didn't have that. That was really lacking. And I used to be the one that organised going out for dinner and that. And obviously, if I wanted him to step up into that centered masculine and lead me, I needed him to do that. So it was about us sitting down and saying, look, would be really amazing if you could organise like a date night once a month and you book it and you basically just say, look, I'm taking you out. Is this date good for you? Be ready at 7:00. And I have to be honest, at first, I was like, what are we doing? But really, the more I allowed him to just lead,
it
became
funny, isn't
fun.
It became fun. You give them enough space and they can do it,
It became fun and I was, excited. I was excited about, with something to look forward to and I was excited because I didn't always know what we were going to be doing. And look, did he always get it right? Was it always amazing? No, but that doesn't matter. The thing was he made the effort.
Exactly.
So, and then you learn, and I wouldn't criticize him if he did the wrong thing. It might just be, oh yeah, I don't think we'll go to that restaurant again.
What's wrong with McDonald's?
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm
Never
joking.
been McDonald's.
Hopefully that's as low as you
No,
go.
I wouldn't do that.
Okay, so you made the decision. Next step.
Learning about
Yep.
what
The
it looks, the
yeah,
feminine
your role
and the
model.
masculine. Role model's really helpful.
Nice.
And then the communication on how you're going to get that to work within your relationship.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Like,
summary.
because
I like
everyone's different.
it. Oh,
and
absolutely.
we don't want to assume, like initially I assumed because I had gone into my feminine energy that Luke would know how to step up.
Mm.
So we had to sit, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So, like we sat down, talked about the date night thing, talked about other areas in our relationship and how we would work together. And then it evolves as well. It's because you talked about it, 3 years later, it might look different.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's a constant.
You've changed as
Yeah.
people, you've changed as a couple. So, yeah, absolutely it'll evolve.
Yeah.
Okay. So, now on to you.
On to me.
So, you've got the question. Where do
Yes.
you think most men have their biggest challenge?
Yep.
And what were the sort of 3 steps or so that you took on your journey?
There's a few different points in it. I think like we covered how I learned how to be it, but the big thing is for me was, and I teach this to my clients, and because we've done things certain way for so long, we've learned a new way and how we need to come into it, that you are going to drop the ball. You're going to go back to your old ways every now and then. You're going to get tired, or work's going to get too busy.
Yep.
And you might have a lazy couple of weeks, and you just got to be kind to yourself and remember that, and I always say for a guy, I said, were you like, Wayne, were you good at sports?
Some.
Yeah, some. When you drop the ball at sport, what do? You just picked it back up.
Yeah.
And it's really important just to remember that. And, for me, just need to know that, sometimes Kim will go, look, honey, you haven't been very attentive, and it's like, I think you put the nail on the head before. Be kind and don't shame people about, instead of going, oh, you've just totally forgotten how to be in your masculine. That's total shaming people. And it doesn't help anyone in the relationship. So being kind to each other and just a reminder. And so for that was one of the big things that I found was, it's really hard to keep at it and make it a natural thing.
Yeah.
Because of, and that's when, the other things for me was, my mum was a big part of her persona, because my dad died at 18, she was in her masculine. And so I was quite comfortable being around a woman that was in their masculine. So that's where Kim fit in really well. And then for me, it was like trying to step into it and, be more comfortable in my masculine. I was very good at goal-orientating things outside of, work. I was a very competitive surfer and did lots of competing surfing at the world level, and did really highly and well at that. And this is where I explain to a lot of guys, you can do that really well, outside your relationship. How can you take that into your relationship and make that more for both of you where you need to be? So that's where I found was quite hard, because with my mum was like, she was doing the best that she knew how.
Absolutely.
And, she didn't know how to deal with, all those, grief emotions and stuff like that. But she knew how to run a house. She knew how to get 3 boys organised and keep a business running and things like that, which was completely out of her comfort zone. So that for me was, a big part of, Kim being very, she was very good. She was very goal orientated in, work. And then I saw her take that into, doing naturopathy studies and very focused, and, B was not on the table. It had to be an A+, otherwise it was not going to be there. And I was like, why are you such a high achiever? Why didn't you just because I was just quite a cruiser. sort of a person. You know, study was like, I'm not a big study person. I'm more hands on.
Mm.
And so I was like, what? And she goes, it's not good enough. Like, you've just got to realize that it's got to be like, if you're going to, what was you saying? If you're going to do it, you might as
If
well.
you're going to do something, do it properly or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
I'm a bit gentler on myself now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's not really to do with masculine, feminine energy. That was more just feeling not good enough and poor self-esteem, I think.
Yeah, I think we all go through that phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, what was the first step or first stage for you rediscovering your masculinity?
Well, obviously, education. So, like Kim had through practitioner training, and I was like, that full light bulb moment was like, wow, I can see in myself, in my relationship, where I was lacking and where I needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like trying to work out like how it best fits in our relationship. You know, so that was the most important part, was like understanding that, this is like a huge thing. That was like this should be taught in schools at that moment.
Oh, absolutely.
That complete that mic drop moment was like, why haven't I seen this? And then once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Kind of thing. So that was that point there. So, and then obviously the implementation was the next. And
okay. So if you were to talk to a group of men, what's generally the first thing you start talking about?
When I talk to men about, I talk to them about, do they understand what it is, and ask them their perspective first. I think, asking questions, because, it gets swung around a lot these days. So I don't want to start, telling people how they should do and should do it. A lot of people do have a bit of an idea these days about where they are in masculine and feminine energies. But I find the role model is a really good way for people to understand where they need to be. Explain how it's a goal orientated for a masculine, whereas your feminine's more the good listening. So it's a bit more like, work when you're trying to teach someone how to do something, you're in your masculine, then they ask you a question and then you're listening. So I think it's a good way. Analogies are great. Work people do it really well. Relationships, they just don't understand where you need to be able to be either, in the relationship.
Yeah. Now, we sort of touched on it earlier, and we've been talking about it or skirting around it, about this masculine and the feminine. Just so people are clear, we're not talking about genders here, are we? We're talking because, for me, for my journey, I was very much one of these people who sort of shunned the feminine side. And I had this moment with my ex-wife. Her mother died, and at no point did I ask her how she was going, was she grieving, was there anything? None of that. I did not even consider going into my feminine. And then before I met my current wife, I was like, you know what? I've got to get in touch with my feminine. So I did. And then the moments that she's had where I needed to be in my feminine, it felt natural sliding into it, and then helping her and nurturing her and supporting her, and then stepping back into my masculine. And it's, for me, that's been one of my biggest moments, is going, it's actually pretty cool being in your feminine, but also being able to step fully into your masculine as well. It's really cool.
Because there's such a misconception, I think, for some men out there that that's pussy. Like, why would you do that? And when it's actually, from a female's perspective, is really when a man does have those moments like you just explained, where you step into your feminine, is really helps a woman feel safe, helps her feel supported, helps her feel like it can be amazing for a relationship for that to happen. And I think, there's a lot of women out there that, I think the equality movement did a lot of damage.
Oh, God, yes.
And I'm not saying I'm all for equality, for women to fight for rights and the right to work and the right to vote and the right for all this thing. But then I think we took it too far in some ways, in the sense that, yes, women can be strong, and yes, but the reality is, And you know what? I might cop some flack for this, but we can't do it all on our own.
Yeah, but men can't do it
And
all
men
either.
can't do it all
That's
on
the
their
thing.
own either. We actually
That's the thing that bugs me.
actually
We
do
need
near
each other.
So we need the masculine energy. We need the feminine. You know, same-sex relationships, again, they need one. When you're together, you can't always be in your masculine, both in your feminine. You need to have that balance where, you know, finding out what works within your relationship. That to me is how balanced relationships work.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot of men out there that may think they're gung-ho men. They might be aggressive and down the pub and they're into sport, but at home they're not doing anything. They're not contributing anything. They're not really leading, and their idea is, well, I go to work and that's enough. When there's more to a relationship than that.
Yeah. And it's funny because what you were just saying about, you don't want to be a pussy and all that sort of thing. What I've realised is being able to step into your emotions takes a lot more courage and guts than sucking it up and just getting over it. So I've found that one of the things for me is every now and then I'm like, no, I need to force myself into that. And I'll watch a movie that I know brings out the emotions.
Yep.
And it's like, that's right. Like it took me ages to get past the shame of crying in front of people.
Yeah.
And then now I'll be watching a movie with my wife and she'll look over and go, oh, God, he's doing it again. But it took a long time to get past all that crap that society puts on us.
Yeah.
You know, but I've found it's made me more comfortable being in my masculine, being able to step into my feminine, which is weird. But
because we are both. We have both those. It's yin and yang. That's a representation, in, I guess, you know, of masculine, feminine energy. That yin, the yang, and we're meant to find that balance within ourselves, and again find that balance within our relationship of it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go on to a little topic we touched on earlier. We were talking about the old so-called toxic masculinity. Now, as I've mentioned to yourselves before we went on air, it's one of these things that really bugs me because there's nothing toxic about masculinity, same as there's nothing toxic about femininity, especially the way we're talking about it being centered and balanced and in its power and everything like that. So I feel, and we seem to be in agreement, that it's because it's incomplete, it's wounded, it's suppressed, it's ignored. So it's got all of these things pushing and pulling on it, and it's not allowed to flourish and grow and be all that it can be. What sort of things do you think contributed to that, and what do you think people could do to move away from viewing it as that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I know sometimes it's quite hard to explain to people when they have a certain idea what it is. So bit like, I don't know, for me, like when I didn't understand about the masculine and feminine energies, I used to use like sarcasm and banter to hide behind it. So the wound was there.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people could say that was like toxic masculinity, but it's not. It's actually coming from a wound.
Yeah.
So I think people don't understand, you know, where it really is. But I think more that when you were talking about the toxic masculinity, I was thinking more about the manosphere. More, have you seen that show?
No, I haven't watched it.
I haven't watched
So that's
the
more.
Manosphere.
That's where I think it more fits into. It's more like super ego, really just like stand on anyone to get
The
where they need to be.
disrespectful
Oh, the
women,
so-called alpha male and all that.
objectifying women.
I think that sort of sums up what would be the true toxic masculinity.
I think that's where it's those sorts of movements that contribute to it. I think, to be honest with you, the term toxic masculinity was created by women seeing unhealthy behaviours. But like you said, you know, you can get the exact same sort of behaviours in female. You know, it's manipulative, it's aggression, it's controlling, it's and then you can have the, you know, withdraw sort of femininity that's really, you know, withdrawn, and the same with masculine where so I think as a society, we've lost. It hasn't been taught that negative behaviour is the result, really, of wounding, unresolved wounds.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you realise that anger's just only coming from a place of fear.
Yeah.
You know, when I realised that, it was like, okay, that makes it easier to deal with my own anger and deal with other people's, because if they get triggered, you know, use that wonderful word, it's got nothing to do with me. It's their stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't tend to take it as personally nowadays,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, same thing. If you see that sort of behaviour, they're not coming from a place of, you know, they're deliberately being nasty. They're a place where they're wounded and they're hurt and suppressed and incomplete and all of these things.
And even in that Manosphere show, they talk about, you know, the young kids. It's a lot of them that are stepping into watching those sorts of influences are usually young boys that have poor self-esteem, that are struggling with how they feel about themselves, and then they get, I guess, misled.
It compounds their problem.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a problem with the social media, isn't it? The depth of the algorithm.
Oh, it's unreal. Yeah, you see the behaviours in people and you're just like,
Yeah.
I want to get you to wake up.
Would you do that in person? Would you say that to person? I always say, you wouldn't put anything down that you wouldn't say to your mother on social media.
Yeah. Well, have you seen this one where they did this little social experiment sort of thing? They got this bloke who was in like Denmark or something, and he'd been sent these tweets in Danish, and he was going up to people and saying, look, I've been sent this text and I don't speak Danish. Can you translate it for me? And it's all these really horrible, vicious things.
Oh, wow.
And they're just like, you know, you probably don't want to. You know, they couldn't even bring themselves to read out a comment from someone else. So it's, a lot of the times, because we're not in front of the people, we say and do some horrible things.
Yeah,
the old keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
So, yes. Anyway.
So, back to toxic. Do you want to go back to toxic masculinity?
Well, I wanted to tell a story actually before, because we were going on before about being gentle and everything. A story I often use when I'm telling people about how to deal with stuff is, many years ago I needed to chop down a tree. It was only a tree about as thick as my arm. And I went into the shed and I didn't have an axe or anything like that. The only thing I had was a hammer. So I literally went out and chopped down a tree with a hammer. All right. And it took me hours and it was messy and it was exhausting. But you know what? That was the only tool I had. And so a lot of people, when we're dealing with our masculinity, femininity, our anger, whatever it is, we're doing the best we can with the shitty tools that we've got.
Yep.
So when I realised that I was just using shitty tools for a lot of the things I was doing in life, I stopped being so harsh on myself. I'm like, you know what? I was using shitty tools. I've got better tools now. So it's the same thing. Instead of saying people, you know, you got toxic masculinity or femininity, you're just using shitty tools in regards to your masculinity and femininity. So,
yeah. I love that analogy. I love that
That's
story.
good.
Yeah, and I like saying it because for me it was very real. Because, you know, I was literally chopping it down. I've had people go, no. I'm like, no, I did.
Haven't you heard the saying, a tradesman never blames his tools?
Yeah, well, I couldn't blame the tools. It was the only one I had. If I had something else, I would have used it. So, yeah, but the good thing is now, if I get people that sort of have a shitty attitude, I'm just like, no, you just got shitty tools.
Yep.
Analogy is such a powerful way for people to understand.
Yeah.
Especially men. Men love analogies. They're really just very visual. They can see himself. You can see yourself out there with a hammer, just like bashing away at this tree.
It was pretty pathetic looking, I can tell you.
Would have been good if you had some anger to release. Like,
I never had any shortage of anger back then, I can tell you. I kept going for a while. So, yeah. And another story I wanted to tell was, we were touching on earlier about you had to teach Luke certain ways to behave. I was reading a book years ago called Managing Anger. Can't think of the woman's name at the moment. But she said a couple of things in there where she goes, oh, I feel loved when you do this. And I went, oh, that's a good idea. And I actually made a user's manual for myself and my wife. So I named as many situations that I could think of, like, you know, if I'm grieving, if I'm scared, if I'm angry, if I'm happy, this is what you have to do for me to feel loved. So when I first met my wife, after we'd been dating for a bit, I handed her one and said, fill this out, you know, as best you can. I'll fill mine out. And then we handed it over. And the amount of times I've read that and gone, oh, so that's what I've got to do when she's.
That's a good
So it's
idea.
nice. I can step up and be present the way she wants me to be. So that's helped me step into my masculine, which has been really nice.
Such an amazing thing to do with your partner, because this is it. So many people out there assume that their partner just knows what you need.
No.
And you know what?
Definitely not.
And everyone's different. You know, everyone has different love languages. And so, you know, you might have had like your ex-wife you were mentioning may have, these certain things might have helped her, but might not help your new wife because she feels love from you in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really comes down, I think, for relationships to work, to take the time. Actually, I think we should make that.
I'll send you a copy if you
That'd
want.
be great. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Revisit it every 5 years or whatever.
Absolutely.
And you can even do it with your kids too.
Yep. Because each of your kids are going to want to be loved a different way, not just a love language, but it's way you support them, way you encourage them, way you talk to them. You know,
100%.
you know, Ray K-Ben talked with, some of them want to do stuff. You know, so instead of me telling you what to do, I'll show you what to do and you can do it and then we'll do it together. And so.
Really good example is like for our son to take the rubbish out.
Oh.
We asked him how we'd like to ask him to take the rubbish out, and he said, can you ask me through a text message?
Really?
Yep.
And you had to put a love heart emoji when you asked, so he knew that he wasn't in trouble.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So with chores, we asked our kids, how would you like us to ask you to unpack the dishwasher or take the rubbish out? And that's, you know, they're different ways.
Because he wasn't doing it. We would ask, and then we feel like we were hounding him.
Wow.
And so then we sat him down
in a
and said,
minute.
look, what do we need to do to help you? Like, how do you want us to ask you? So we had to ask him, and we had to give him a time frame to do it within.
Okay.
So if we asked, we weren't allowed to expect it to be done immediately.
Yeah.
It was like, do it. Can you remember?
But immediately gets you extra bonus points.
Remember to do the bins by 8 p.m. or whatever.
Right.
Otherwise, we will come down and ask you.
Consequences.
So it really, really is about communication. I mean, and understanding each other's expectations.
And like you said, you don't know that unless you ask.
I mean, I had a story on a group not long ago. A woman was complaining about her partner, how, you know, he had asked what did she want for Mother's Day, and, you know, she said, can you make it something really extra special and memorable? And he said, oh gosh, you expect so much. What do you think? I'm rich or something? And she'd got all upset about it. But I asked her, what does he know what you mean by memorable, like special memories and memorable? Maybe his interpretation of that is it's an expensive piece of jewelry, or so really just, you know, sitting down and having that discussion. What does that mean for you?
Good point. Yeah, and it's funny because so many of us are not very good at communicating either. You know, like communicating. Okay, here's a little story. Many years ago, this lady I knew, single mother, she was having troubles with her teenage son. He was about 13, 14. She's like, oh, he's not taking his medication. He's being argumentative. He won't do his chores, and there's all these things. And I said, well, he won't listen to you. She's like, what? I said, because you're a woman and you're talking to him as a woman. The problem is you need to talk to him as a male. So instead of saying this, say this. Anyway, I caught up with her a few weeks later. And I said, how are you going with him? She goes, oh, no, he's taking his medication now, doing his jobs and all of this sort of thing. And I said, yeah, it's funny because if anyone ever told us what having kids was really like,
Yeah.
none of us would have kids. And her mum was with her and was nodding so vigorously, I was wondering what the hell she did as a kid.
Yeah.
But it's true, though. You know, we don't know how to communicate to people. And like you
Yeah.
said, they all hear it a different way.
Yeah.
So we've got to find out how they want to hear it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yep.
good one. I like that one.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, what sort of tips would you give to people who may be struggling with their masculinity or their femininity? Now, I'll give my little bit. So, like I said, for years I sort of was disassociated with my feminine side. And a lady that I knew that I went to for a massage, she said to me one day, "Oh, my husband's going and doing this men's weekend. I think you'd really benefit from it. You should go." And I was like, okay, I sort of trusted her judgment. So I went and did it. Best bloody thing I ever did. And it cracked open so many things within me that, like you said, once
Yeah.
you've seen it, you can't
Yeah.
unsee it. You know, once you've experienced it, you can't not experience it again. So that has been a massive thing for me. And I know my youngest boy here was having some challenges, and he went to the under 18 version of it, and the change in him was profound.
Yeah.
He went from being really angry and volatile and everything to just almost nothing phased him type thing. So it was just phenomenal. So I know for me, that was a huge turning point.
I think for men, finding men's groups, just
Yeah.
ensuring that it's teaching healthy masculinity.
And I just thought I should probably
Great.
mention what it was. It's a mob called Mankind Project.
Mankind Project.
Yeah,
So it was
NKP.
Dave, is that Dave? Was that Davey Rowe that was running that?
I'm trying to remember now. We're talking a few
Dave.
years ago.
Dave.
I have heard of the Mankind Project. It's still it's still running.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still doing their weekends.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
And that's like I run a once a month men's group. It's
Yeah, I
quite,
kept meaning to get up to that
yeah, that's all good.
because I know you do great
I
work.
know you live a long, long way away, so
Well, I do from where you're doing
I
it.
know. I know. So, but yeah, the big part of it is spiritual basis and like not a religion base. So it's like a meditation and that, but spirituality is all about being a good human. But the first part of it is being able to talk about your problems, especially for men in a group, and just sit there and listen and not give advice. Just sit and listen, and just acknowledge that the person had shared something big. And obviously we never share what happens in the men's group because it's really important to have those boundaries just so we can feel safe. Because a lot of men don't feel safe with their their friends that they know. So sometimes it's coming in with strangers and just being able to get things off your chest. Take a few rocks out of the backpack, as I say, and just let it go. And a lot of people don't realise that there's a lot of guys going through some big things, or some little things, or things that you wouldn't even think of. And just teaching men how to listen, I think makes practice and makes better partners and better friends with other guys, because they're not going to have to sit there and go, "Oh yeah, I've got the solution for you, mate. We're going to smash like 20 beers now. That'll solve all your problems, won't it?"
That's it.
All it does is just stuff it down in the backpack a bit further. And I know us men are really, for you and me, we've done a lot of work on ourselves, which is great. But a lot of men are very comfortable at sitting in their own shit, and it becomes normal. And but they just don't understand that masculine, feminine energy is there. I think the more you lean into that sort of drinking culture and drugs and things like that, the more detached you are, and the less like you are to step into your other masculine or feminine, and being able to share things with your friends. And I met a lot of guys, and people open up to me, and being able to be a good listener is a good key. And asking the right questions is also another good thing as well. So men just need, somewhere safe just to start. Like you said, it was just that start. I went there and thought, oh, what the heck? I'm going to try this for something different. And you don't, And you lose your expectation, and then all of a sudden it's like, this is a whole different world.
Mm.
My friends they're good mates, but they're not bringing everything that I need to the table. Learning how to listen, learning how to be a leader. And a leader is not about telling people what to do. A leader is about showing up for your family,
Absolutely.
showing up for your partner, and stepping into that masculine when she needs to step into a feminine.
Yeah, and it's weird because we've all got these preconceived notions of all of that. And like the listening part, that is hard. Actually listening and not interrupting or giving a solution.
Or looking at your phone.
Yeah, well, that's another big one with people nowadays. But that was, for me, a hard one to learn. When a woman opens up, as blokes, we just want to give a solution or fix it or just do this. And I've had to learn it now. It's just, how was your day, honey? And just let her get it out. And it's just like, okay. So keep your mouth shut. Yeah. So, learning to listen's a hard one.
And sometimes that goes in the next step. Sometimes that's a vent, This is, outrageous. This has happened and that. It's like, okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I'm here for you. You okay? Do you need a hug?
Yeah.
Or do you need, is there anything else? So it's really important as a guy to understand where you sit in that relationship, where you need to be supportive, where you need to be stepping into that feminine energy and being a really, really good listener. And she'll melt. She'll feel safe.
Yeah. Well, it took us a while, but we got to the point now where she'll do a little vent or whatever she needs to do or talk about whatever. And then she'll go, so what do you think I should do?
Yeah.
So then she'll actually ask me.
I think
I'm
she's
like,
asking you to help.
Yeah, because I'm like, now you want a solution. Okay, now I can give it to you.
Yeah.
So otherwise it's just like, no, shut up, keep listening.
Yeah.
Because obviously you want to protect them and, step in and do the husband thing. You just got to, be quiet.
Yeah.
It's a hard one.
And sometimes kids are like that, but, and I think you don't want to make every moment with a kid a teachable moment either. Sometimes that's the moment when you just got to listen. Okay, how did that make you feel? You okay about it? And that's all they need. And I think as parents, we're trying to protect them so much. I'll give you a solution for this, and I'll do this for you, and sort of this.
And it's funny because I've dealt with a lot of apprentices over the years in my trade. And I find this works in any situation. Someone will come to you with a problem and you'll say to them, well, what do you think you should do? And they already know the answer. They just need it confirmed by someone.
Yeah.
So all you've got to do is, sounds good to me. Off you go.
Yeah.
It's amazing what a difference that makes.
Yeah.
Because then you empower them and go, see, you already knew. You're already wiser than you thought.
Yeah, confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, belief in yourself. So, What was my question? Yes, that's right.
I think just like you found, like the men's groups, it's really helpful for women to find those like women's circles, because I think a lot of the time women get in the habit of when they catch up with their friends, they're having a bitch, they're having a whinge, and that's really not conducive to getting a positive change and outcome in your life, really.
Yeah.
I think the more you start doing the healing, the less attractive those sorts of friendships become.
Yep.
Or those. So finding, women's circles, there's plenty around that, are about, again, allowing you to express yourself without anyone fixing, learning to tap into your emotions, learning to, drop into that heart space and that nurturing side and that flow. And I think another really good thing for women is to tap into their creativity.
Yes.
And that, like Luke mentioned before, that could be colouring in. It doesn't have to be that you've suddenly become an artist or, it could be cooking and creating, with food. I know that I really benefit when I spend time doing something that's creative. It really helps me soften.
Remember your cross stitch you had?
Oh, yeah, I have a cross stitch that's been going for about 15 years.
You don't want to rush these things.
No, and I'll do it a little bit over winter and then it disappears in the cupboard and then it will come out the next year. And
yeah, well, that's funny because I remember as a young man, I was living over east and I used to make postcards to send home. Now, I'd get a little bit of card. I used to love Calvin and Hobbes.
Yep.
So I used to photocopy them and then stick them on the front and write on the back and send them home. And so, like you said, you're doing those things and it just taps into something and you feel so much better doing it. And I've always wanted a partner that was creative. And none of the others weren't really creative. My wife, she's always making cards and this and that and the other, and she just loves it. She's always like, what do you think of this? I'm going to give this to so-and-so. And it's just brilliant. You watch her glow as she's doing stuff.
And another big thing for me is just having a good dance is really movement, I find, getting
so you're not talking formal dancing?
No,
get up
just
and shake your booty.
Like no one's watching, like no one's around and, move my hips and get that feminine flow happening. And
it's good for all of us, really.
Yeah.
Get you out of your head and back into your body.
Get you into your body. And, but yeah, looking for those women's groups is a really, really helpful way to find like-minded women too.
And that's the thing. They say you become the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. So if you want to know what sort of person you are, look at who you're hanging out with. So. So, if you go into a good women's group or a good men's group, I mean, I know it helped me heaps being able to just sit there and speak without having fear of shame or being judged or anything like that. Yeah. And, these blokes are talking about stuff and you go, wow, that's pretty full on.
Yeah.
But you don't judge them. You're just like, that's pretty cool. You managed to get that out.
And I think the thing is that it feels really uncomfortable when you first step.
Oh, God, yeah, it's terrifying.
You're really nervous.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I know the first time I ever went to a women's group, I was so nervous. So, don't let that put you off.
Absolutely.
It's very normal to feel that way.
Yeah. No, I had heaps of fear of judgment and not being liked and all this sort of stuff. So, load of rubbish. Silly way to think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Anyway, we've only got a few minutes left.
Ooh.
So, I know it goes quick, doesn't it?
Didn't it?
So, we could easily talk for longer. What did you want to finish with? Would you like to do a little recap?
Finish with?
And a plug for what you do, of course. Mention business names, websites and stuff. Might as well while we're here.
I've just
I like the way you just jumped to that opportunity.
No, I'm just like...
Whatever you want. Do a recap, give a plug, whatever you want.
I mean, I guess the way I would like to close is it doesn't have to be scary to look at feminine and masculine energies in your relationship. It's really the way we're innately designed. And, it adds so much more depth and dimension to your relationships when you allow yourself to embrace it. So, if you're struggling and you're wanting guided help, Luke and I do run a couples program, one-to-one program where we work with couples where we do teach this as part of that program in helping them work out how that looks for them in their relationship. But the program also involves us helping both parties within the relationship to, heal at that deep level any wounds that they may have that are getting in the way of them stepping into that centered masculine feminine energy. So, allowing them to heal that separately and then coming together and learning and how to communicate together, how to reconnect together.
So it's so cool when they're separate. Like I've worked with a guy and Kim's working with the lady, and they do the work over a few weeks and they come together, and it's like they really want it to work by that stage. They really know what they want, and they can understand how it all is. But then you can just plan it all out, and it's like such a big difference. And you can just see how their whole nervous system's relaxed. They're exactly where they need to be. They know what they need to be for their partner. There's no second guessing. And a bit like how you said, when you've got when you got the card there and it says, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to be in these situations. It's like, oh, okay, now I know where I need to,
exactly
be in that relationship. because we're only doing the best as what we know how with the hammer we've got, trying to smash a tree down.
Exactly. Shitty tools.
Yeah, shitty tools. So, but it's been good.
So you can find us on Facebook,
Mhm.
just under my name, Kim Herman, KIMHERMAN. Luke has a page called The Healthy Mind Man Cave on Facebook as well. And I also have a website, www.kimherman.com.
Beautiful. All right, that's it, folks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, this has been brilliant. Definitely going to have those other conversations, though. I reckon they'd be awesome. Okay, so we've gone a little over time, but that's all right. World's not going to end, I hope. I hope you've enjoyed it. Next week, we'll be back with just myself waffling on about whatever I'm going to waffle on about. Hopefully it'll be good. Send in your questions if you want, the talkieshow@gmail.com, or send it in on the socials. Hope you've enjoyed it. Look after yourselves and stay awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Edge Radio.